Energy to lose that as the leader is discouraging because now the breadth of the sell-off is widening out, and that's the one group that's working. But it's creating complications as crude oil goes up. Starting to see some of that with some of the airlines, it seems like, Renita.
Absolutely. So when we saw a few large producers extend their output cuts to the end of the year, that sent a ripple effect through industries that rely on fuel. And one of those is the airline industry, and several of them today are warning that their fuel costs are going to go up in the third quarter and maybe even beyond because of this largely. And so that's why we see the JETS ETF. It is lower today by about 1.2%, and it would be the fifth day of the losing streak, but it's still up around 9% year to date. However, that is definitely underperforming the market, but it's down about 17% from that peak that it hit back in July, which is also considered during that peak summer travel season. July 4th is another big weekend that people travel, right? But one of the companies, Southwest, said that last-minute leisure bookings fell short of the expectations for August, and several other issues, like they were one of the companies that said that fuel costs are going to rise during the year. They're expecting $2.80 at the high end per gallon of gas. And they're also looking at another low-cost airline, or another airline, I should say, is looking at its outlook for available or revenue per available seat mile. When it comes to Southwest, though, it cut its third quarter outlook for revenue per available seat mile. United Airlines, they hiked their fuel estimates to $3.05 at the high end, but they stuck to their revenue and cost guidance for the year and for the next quarter. Alaska Airlines raised their estimates for third quarter fuel costs to $3.25 a gallon at the high end, but those last minute bookings for this company remain strong in August. So it's interesting to find out which of the airlines are doing stronger in which of these areas when it comes to the expectation of fuel costs to rise, how well they did with last minute bookings, right? And how well they'll do on revenue per available seat mile.
It feels like that's kind of the catch with investing in the overall sector, is there's so much competition, and there really are some real differences in between each carrier. Southwest, their outlook for the oil price is a little bit lower than United's. They kind of have that reputation as being able to handle a little bit more of an oil rise. But then United's got the bookings to go with it. Then you mix in analyst notes. They're trying to pick winners. And this morning, talked about the bullish note out on American, which has a bunch of debt. So then whenever rates go up, American always suffers, and that stock's just been getting killed the last 3 weeks. It seems like that's also a story that we can't forget, too, for airlines, Kevin, is that rates do matter on the more indebted ones. And as soon as rates break out, it's like American drops to the bottom of the pack.
You're right, Oliver. You can talk about this group as a sector, but then that sector takes on several different stories within that sector. When you look at American, boy, every plane that seems to go over Chicago seems to be an American plane, but their balance sheet struggles. Southwest, they may not have the same gasoline exposure because they're more domestic. They're taking more short flights than, say, United that's going international in Delta. So every single airline has a sector, and then they have their own individual stories. So, yeah, here's the one last thing about airlines. They're volatile when times are normal, Oliver. These stocks really move. So in times of uncertainty, look out. They move a lot.
Okay. Quick last thought, Renita.
Interesting thing about American, they were raised today to an outperform from a neutral over at an analyst, and they boosted the price target to $20 a share.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting considering all these warnings coming out, right? We were looking at this, and it was BNP Paribas who raised it. That's around a 38% or so move to the upside.
It'd be a fresh one-year high for American.
It would be, but who knows if it can make it there.
It's kind of a good example of the catch 22 of markets right now. We've got a strong economy. You got people in America, they're still traveling for sure. I mean, they're pretty unabashed about spending right now. But then the inflationary pressure on the profits gives you this back and forth and makes it a very tough investment. So I guess you're not mad if you bought airlines a year ago, but it certainly has been a very wild ride and a good place to watch as we see the oil impact here broaden out to the macro economy. Thanks for the perspective, Renita and Kevin Hanks. Good stuff, team.